Jay, what you know about Mel's hole, Jay? What you know about that?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You hear about bottomless pits. Well, like when we were growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I always thought that quicksand would be something I would have to cope with much more often than I ever have.
Exactly right.
Bottomless pit, kind of the same category, right? You heard about it all the time when you were a kid.
Right. So, well, not only on this show do we talk about how the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids, how the Anunnaki breaded us for slaves, how aliens are coming back to murk us, how there's dogmen in national forest. We talk about holes around here, y'all. Holes. You understand? Holes in the ground, not the one sitting next to you on the couch. Oh! So, I'm just joking, man. She's not a hoe anymore.
Well, I mean, not all the hoes are she's either.
Ah, there you go. Exactly. Anyway, so you ready to get in this, Jay?
I'm down.
Let's get into it. Let's go. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's topic. Oh, first of all, before we get into this, I've been working on this. I've been getting some professional coaching from our channel helpers, right? And I've been working on this. All right, so here we go.
Here we go.
Thank you for tuning in to Enigma Cast for episode 21, where we talk about Mel's hole. Please hit the link in the description and find us on all of our social media platforms. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
I like that one.
How'd I do?
You could have ChatGPT write you a script.
Exactly. How'd I do?
For real.
But tell me this sold it, bro. No. This sold it. Hey. Fidukery.
Nope. No? Fidukery. Yeah.
Fidukery. Anyways, got the niceties out of the way. Don't forget us to get a thumbs up. If you've stuck around this long, you're our type of loser.
That's it. We're done.
We're done.
No,
we're out. All right, so we came across a story that is weird, and that's right up our alley. And so normally, like I said, Jay and I have been talking a lot about aliens, the Anunnaki, Book of Enoch, quantum physics.
Time to bring it back a little bit more local.
We need to get more local here, man. So we couldn't get any more local than we came across this story. And I will say that we've got 20, this will be our 21st episode. Out of the other 20 podcasts we have done, I got to say this one may fight for the weirdest one we've ever talked about. This is the weirdest story.
Yeah, the weirdest, verifiable one for sure
I've ever heard of. And I got some sauce to put on it towards the end.
Okay.
And we will go from there. So anyways, tonight's topic is about a phenomenon we can use this guy's name because I think he's dead. His name is Mel Waters, right? And Mel Waters is a man who had a home, and I wrote this down. I've been getting a lot of correction on my enunciation. This one's called Manitesh Ridge in Ellensburg, Washington, right? And I think I got that right, but sure, let me know if it's Manitesh Ridge or Manitesh Ridge.
Mel's hole is a bottomless pit near Ellensburg, Washington.
Right.
Yeah, you got it right.
But I got dialed in specifically to the Manitesh Ridge or whatever it is. And so anyways, before we talk about this hole, it dawned on me, man, that a lot of weird stuff goes down in Washington, bro. I've never been there. I
feel like the Midwest is, from the Mississippi over. They're not, for some reason, I don't feel like they're as interested in the East Coast.
No.
Or maybe just people stay inside more, and so we don't look up at the sky.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Those are good points, man.
Haven't you ever noticed, it's always Denver or California or Washington State.
That is true. And I think
Delaware.
And if you even keep going north of
New Jersey.
Yeah, if you keep going. Yeah, New Jersey. Yeah.
Florida's the outlier always.
Exactly.
All kind of crazy shit happens in Florida.
Yeah, but if you go north of Washington, even when you get into that part of Canada, there's supposed to be some weird stuff going on up there.
Well, think about it. That's a very, it's a very active. Think about what's there, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of mountains. It's very geologically active, right?
A lot of caves too. Yeah.
Earthquakes. So that means probably caves, right?
Caves for sure.
It's right next to the ocean. Apparently, aliens like water for some reason. It's a good place to hide, though.
Tic-tac.
Right? Like, think about it, dude. Best place on Earth to hide from us.
Would definitely be the ocean, man. For sure, right?
Right.
For sure. Yeah, for ocean. So I was snorkeling in one time in Diego Garcia, right? And I saw, I did a lot of stuff out there, but there's two things I saw in that ocean that I did not even know existed. For you guys watching, Diego Garcia is not an island. It's actually a rim, an atoll is what it is. It's the rim of a volcano that's sticking out of the water, right? And inside the atoll, the waters are super, super, super calm waters, and you can swim out there. You can't scuba dive on Diego Garcia, but you can snorkel. And everything that can possibly kill you in the water is in there, right?
It's in that hole.
Yeah, it's inside the atoll. If you actually go out on the outside of the atoll, you can catch like 700-pound tuna. I'm not joking, man. And the Filipinos that are stationed on that island full time, they will go to town with machetes when you bring that bad boy in, and you will have the best fish fry in your life, man. You'll feed the whole island, right? It's actually a good time, right? So,
yeah.
But I've seen barracudas out there. I've seen groupers that were as big as me out there. And one time I was out there snorkeling, and this is no lie, man, a 23-foot stingray, manta ray, glided over top of me, and it blocked out the water, and I thought I was about to die. I looked up, and it was there, and I was like, oh my goodness, right? But also one time there is actually, I don't know, if you've ever been to Diego Garcia, you can chime in on this one. There's actually a hammerhead shark in the area, and his name is Hector. We've named him. His name is Hector, right? And people would say, how do you know about Hector? Because he's about a 27-foot hammerhead shark, right? And it is one of the biggest sharks I've ever seen in my entire life, right? And Hector actually has a very distinct scar running across the right side of his like hammerhead there or whatever. Anyways, yeah. And so I thought to myself that if something ever happened, right, and the world had some kind of world-ending event, the people on Diego Garcia, like you're
They'll
fucked.
Never know.
We could never leave. They would just never be there. Right? Like,
yeah.
Because
there's a lot of places like that, though, dude.
Yeah, and so the same thing, man. I thought the same thing, man, too. Like I always thought, man, what's like if you're not looking for DG, you're not going to find it, right? You're not, right? And like I always thought to myself, what's south of this volcano, right? Like what's south of it, right? Like nothing ever goes there, right? Nothing, right? So
what do you mean, like south of it?
Yeah. So if I got
literally in the ocean.
Yeah, if you got in a boat, right, and you headed south from the island, right, the backside of the island, right. There's no shipping lanes down there. There's nothing there. Nothing goes down there. Nothing, right? No one has any interest going there. As human beings, we have no reason whatsoever.
There's no reason to go there.
To go south. And that's what you just said. That's if you were aliens, man, that would be the perfect place to hide. Whatever.
It would, because and then on top of it, like, there's so much ocean out there.
So much.
And you really like. I didn't really. I mean, I knew the Pacific Ocean was big, right? Like conceptually and intellectually, you know, like that's a big, huge body of water. But then go spend a month out on it, and not able to see land for that whole month.
Yeah, because the Earth curves, bitches.
Right, and you're just out, and all you see is flat
water,
ocean.
Yeah.
For a month.
You know what,
dude?
You know what freaked me out? Two things used to freak me out. I know we're off topic, y'all, but these are good stories. This is the ancient Enigma files teaching you how not to die in the Pacific and the Indian Ocean, right?
Right.
So they used to do the first time I was in that area from Diego Garcia, they have British Royal Marines. That's not an American territory. It's called a biot, right? It's a British Indian Ocean territory. And fun thing about this, the Brit police on that island will give you what they call BUIs. If you're riding a bicycle drunk, these fiduciaries will give you a fine, right? You won't get any trouble in the military about it, but you got to pay like $200 for it or whatever. So yeah, but once a month, those Marines, they go out and they head, I want to say northeast towards the Maldives to rescue people on sailboats that have thought they can handle the ocean and they've crashed. And I've never seen them not bring people back. I've never seen it, right? So they would leave the island. They would be gone for about 2 weeks. They would shoot up. And depending on where they found them, if they found them along the way, they would take them literally to the Maldives and get them out of there somehow or whatever, right? But if they found them on the way back, you're coming back to DG, right? You're coming back to the island, man. And they used to come back, man, and you would just see these Gilligan Islands looking refugees, man, this like, you know, wearing like prison jumpsuits because that's all they had like to give them, right? And so I thought to myself, like, damn, man, how many of them they just don't ever find anymore?
Don't make it. Right.
Because these guys have been out there for like, I talked to this one dude. He was super chill, man. He was actually coming out of Thailand, right? And he actually had told me that he was out there 2 weeks, bro. He said he was out there 2 weeks on a broken boat, man. Just sitting there. Yeah. No radio, no comms. Yeah, the shit was just dead in the water.
Like, they keep finding these dudes off the California coast and like Mexico coast that have been out to sea for like a month.
Yeah.
Like remember was it a year ago? Like a couple months ago? Time is weird for me. Yeah. They found a dude and his dog on like a busted up fishing boat and he was just floating for like a month, him and the dog.
Nah, man.
I was like, oh my God, dude.
There was a famous poem, dude, somebody said, and I was in basic training and one of my mean ass instructors said one time we were doing something. He was a chill dude, man, but he had actually said, like, he'd say, look, you guys, you know, no matter where you end up, you know, my first 4 years, and I didn't go to sea. I was land based for the first 4 years, man. 3 years in Japan, then did a year in Diego.
I know.
And he said, the ocean will make cowards of us all. It's like something like a poem, right? That he had said. He had read it somewhere. And man, it wasn't until I had been in for a while and I was watching these people come off those boats and I was like, oh man, that dude looks like he just went through go home and write a book about trauma, right? Like, so.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly the moment it happened for me.
Yeah. What was that?
Remember when I went, when I was
voluntold
to go to that other.
Oh man, they asked for you by name. I heard they asked for you by name, bro.
I'm sure they did because you know I had a reputation fresh out of boot for a needle gun, right? I could needle gun the shit out of a fucking hull.
Get the salt on this guy.
So anyway, we were going from, I think it was Tokyo to somewhere up north, like Sapporo, somewhere up in Hokkaido, right? Mm-hmm. And we were transiting because I think we had to go around and through, right? Like we were going up north through Hokkaido and then Korea, right? And we hit this storm, dude. And that was not a big ship.
No.
Right? So we were doing this.
Yeah.
And dudes had said stuff about flying up the ladder well, and I didn't really get it until it happened. And I launched straight up that thing because I was running up as we were coming down, and I went shoof and just flew up that thing and smack right on the deck. And then I had to go and get in my chair. And I'll tell you what, man, I didn't typically get seasick. Mm-hmm. But man, I was sick as a dog.
Yeah.
All night that night. I had the mid-watch. So I laid down on the deck, and you know how where that barber chair attached to the deck?
Yeah.
I laid down and put my legs up on the chair and then just put the trash can next to me, and I just let it happen.
Yeah.
I just let it go, all of it, and it never happened to me again.
Yeah, don't you love these ancient Enigma file C stories? Before we
I
get
know,
back,
right?
Before we get
We're
back,
just gonna like put a big banner on.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a second.
Yeah.
Now for our sponsor, Sea Stories.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. So I'll tell this one. This is when it came to grips with me, man. And then we'll talk about Mel's hole right here. So when you were voluntold to go, we had to make a run, man. We were heading to Pusan for something, right?
I know. I was very jealous, man.
And we were coming back, right? And so we ran into some type of crazy, I forget what they call it, man, in the North Japanese Sea when like a storm rolls up, right? I forget what it is.
Typhoon.
Something like, no, I'm talking about like a freak thing. It's like the storm normally, it doesn't happen that time of year. But anyways, it was right. 50 footers, right? 50 footers. So everybody else got sick except me and JP, right? So they came down there like, hey, so me and JP are playing cards, man. And we were like we're literally downstairs eating. Nobody's eating. Everybody's puking. Everybody's sleeping. And they came out and they go, get upstairs. You guys got to pull it. We're like, yo, we're like, what? He's like, yeah, man, everybody's sick. So I'm like, all right, man. So we go upstairs, man. And then we were in there and I was like, yo, JP, man, how bad? And we're doing stupid shit. Like we were like Supermaning on the walls and stuff. Just doing stupid stuff, right? And JP, so I said, JP.
Running up the wall and running back down.
Just doing this, right? And I said, man, JP, how bad can it be, right? And I was like, yo, man, F this, man. Let's go look, right? Like we weren't supposed to, right? So we went up.
Horrible.
We went up one more deck, man, and we cracked the hatch, man. We cracked the door, and I was sitting there opening it, and I was looking out, bro, and across the way, man, I could see the USS Independence, man. That's an aircraft carrier, y'all. And me and JP were standing there, and then I didn't see it.
Oh no!
And then we saw it again.
Oh, no.
I was like, holy shit, man. Look, and I was like, and then next thing I know, man, they sounded the alarm, man. We started taking water across the bow, man. We had to close it, dog everything down, man. And then we ran back downstairs real quick and skipped like we weren't supposed to even open that door, right? So before we got in trouble. But that's when I thought to myself, man, I was like, bro, imagine trying to do this in a wooden boat, right? Like,
I couldn't even. It was hard enough.
Yeah.
Like I was in a boat half the size that you were, and I can't even. And that was made out of metal and sealed watertight. Yeah. I can't even imagine doing it in something open.
Yeah, no, me neither, right? I couldn't even do it, right?
No way.
So anyways, y'all, fun fact is...
And now back from our sponsor.
Join the Navy. Not. Here we go. Mel's hole, right?
Join the Air Force.
Join the Air Force. And get you one of these. Get you a nice one of these. Get you a chair. Get a room by yourself, right?
Or if you happen to be forced to stay in an Army or Navy barracks, you'll get an extra $300 a month.
Exactly. They would pay the Air Force more money to have to sleep in this shit. We had to sleep here for free. Fun facts on that, right? So anyways.
Fun facts.
Closest
to prison I ever want to get.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyways, Jay, stop sideboarding.
I know. A huge
Pay attention.
Of course.
Man, all right?
Bottom of the pits. Like we just fell down.
Anyways, Mel Waters had a property in Mantash Ridge, Ellensburg, Washington. Right? And on this property was something that would have made me never buy that property, period. But he bought it anyways. There was a 9-foot 9-inch hole, right? That had about 15 feet of the top of that hole down was reinforced with bricks. Somebody actually put effort into this. This wasn't just a natural hole, right? And so Mel would use this hole to throw in trash in this hole. Okay. I thought to myself, all right. And his neighbors would too.
But you and I both know that's exactly what you do with a hole.
Yeah, exactly. You throw bodies in there, holes in there,
If you live in the middle of nowhere and you don't have a dumpster or
I guess it is better than burning your trash in an oil barrel like I've seen people do in the South, but hey, whatever. So, but anyways, he used to dump stuff into this hole, right? And I guess this was going on for years. The person that he bought the house property from, said the same thing. Hey, yeah, we throw the trash in there or whatever. And so one day, Mel was out there dumping a load into this never-ending hole, and he had the epiphany, for lack of a better word, on that.
You and your phrasing, man,
exactly.
Kill me.
Had an epiphany. Whatever.
Mel came and dumped a load in the hole, and then had an epiphany.
Had an epiphany. He had an epiphany. And the epiphany was, why do I never ever hear it hit the bottom, and why does this hole never start getting full, right? That was what he decided, right? So he just dumped it in there. And he also said that he noticed that every time he would go to take the rubbish to dispose of, his dogs wouldn't go anywhere near the hole. No birds would fly over it. And he went out there one time with the radio, and he was like noticing that strange thing started happening to the radio.
He was getting weird signals, right? Like,
yeah.
I can't remember the details of the signals. Was it like he got stations, right?
Yeah. So he was picking up like 1940s jukebox type, hey, when you come around, drink a beer and sage low, something like that.
Like
right?
the oldies station.
Oldies, like the oldies station. And he also picked up a baseball game. And literally, he was like, oh, okay. And then the baseball game he picked up was like a 1940s baseball game, right? And out of everything on the story that this story goes into, that's the most explainable. And I can tell you why that happened, why that is, right? It's the most explainable. And I'll do that right now. If you've ever had to drive through rural areas, and I'm talking rural areas, right? There is a phenomenon that the older generation people like to do, and they like to talk on like walkie-talkies, like CBs, like I forget what they call it, like ham radios, right?
Ham radio.
They take this like you don't even know, man.
Seriously.
It's very serious. They invest a lot of time.
It's a big hobby for a lot of people.
It is. They invest a lot of time and they invest a lot of money. And when they're not on those ham radios, they will broadcast old recordings from like the 20s and 30s for their listeners.
Like that.
So
like a station.
Yeah, like a station, right? And so it's a very limited broadcast. But literally, you can drive through some rural areas, and back before
the weird, yeah.
I used to have to make this run, man, from Pensacola up to Tennessee, and it's about like a 9-hour run, right? And I would cut through, I want to say Alabama or something like that. I can't remember. But I was on
Alabama.
Yeah, I was on these back roads, man. Like 2:00 in the morning, pitch black, pistol on my seat. And so, I would just be to stay awake. I would just be flicking the scan button, right, and it would run, and then it would run, and then it would run, and it would occasionally pick up some weird station like that, right. So out of everything that this is about to get into, that's a possibility for what.
Because at this time, kids, we didn't even have cell phones.
Exactly.
Best you could do was pager.
I had a flip phone.
Oh, did you have a flip phone at that point?
I had a motor.
Oh, that's right. This was when you came back this way.
Yeah, I was stationed in Pensacola, right? I was down there, right? I had a Motorola, son.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so that's explainable. But what's not explainable about this hole, right, is that he decided he was going to test this hole, right? And actually, I have to give him credit. He came across a very logical way to test the depth of this hole. He took fishing line, spools, and he just tied some weights on the end of that fishing line, and he just dropped it down there. And when one spool rolls out, that's 5,000 feet. 5,000 feet worth of fishing line, right? And then he would say, okay. He put another one on there. Dropped it down, right? Dropped it down. And I think his original estimate was like, you know what? This probably goes down about 15,000.
Right.
No, about 3 spools, I thought, is what I think he expected to encounter, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. My man goes down 80,000 feet, y'all. And I'm telling you right now, just for the Canadians that watch the channel, that's 15 miles, eh? 15 miles, eh? That's 15 miles down that he went down. They're on the metric system up there anyways. They probably, so I don't know how many kilometers that is or whatever. But 15 miles down. And it still didn't touch. And because my mind is weird, you know what I thought? Before I reacted to, like, damn, that's 15 miles. My first reaction was, I wonder if he rolled that back up afterwards or he just cut it loose. That's how my mom was thinking. Like, how long did it take you to cut that up?
No, I think that's a very valid question.
Yeah. So 15 miles, 80,000 feet, still didn't touch the bottom, right? And then he put some lifesavers on there as well, figuring if there was water down there that they would dissolve, but nothing was down there. So no water, no nothing. 15 miles, not touching bottom. And I want to be very careful on how I word this, but Jay, how high do you have to go up, Jay, before you're officially in outer space?
Let me look real quick.
How many miles before you hit I know it's the here's check out the big brain on Professor Augusta. You have the ionosphere, the stratosphere, and the troposphere, y'all. What? And then you have outer space, right? So I wonder how
50 miles.
50 miles, right?
Right.
50 miles to go up. And
they start at an altitude of 50 miles, or for the Canadians, 80 kilometers.
80 kilometers, eh? That's one hell of a jump there, eh? So yeah, so 15 miles down. So this dude was wow.
Well, man, to give you kind of a little bit of
that's a long way down.
Opposite metric, right? A fracking well, right, is typically 8,290 feet.
Wow. Okay. So it's deep.
Right. 2,500 for the Canadians.
2,500 for the Canadians out there, eh? Eh?
A.
No, eh?
A.
So yeah, that's a damn deep hole right there, bro. That's a damn deep hole.
That's a damn deep hole.
In fact, that hole's so scary that scares me. Like I would have to build something around there to keep people from going towards that hole, right? Like literally a fence or something.
Well,
right?
Think about this. Like the reason why you put bricks around something is to reinforce it so that the hole doesn't grow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like if you're standing on the edge of that thing and there's no bricks, it just crumbles off and you're taking a ride.
Who says I can't say Saskatchewan properly, huh? I'm smarter in other areas, y'all. Smarter in other areas.
Just out the other side, right?
Yeah. Also thought too that a hole that deep, what keeps it from collapsing in on itself, right?
Okay, so theoretically speaking, we're in a ridge, right?
Right.
So this is a mountain system.
Yeah. So you would think it was stone, right?
So if you hit a lava tube, right? Like mountains are formed by, geological activity, right? So if he's near any kind of volcanic anything, and I think that in northern Washington, isn't that where Mount St. Helens is and stuff like that?
Pretty sure it is.
I'm pretty sure, right? There's volcanic activity up there. If there was a hole and it hit a lava tube, that could go down pretty deep.
Down deep, right? Down deep.
Yeah, pretty deep. Yeah, it would go down. Like, who knows?
Well, here you go. That in itself would make sense, but it gets weirder. It gets weirder, y'all.
I know.
So his neighbor.
This is where it starts to go off the rails.
This is where it goes off.
I mean, I can get behind the hole, and if it was a lava tube, right? Like if lava just came for some reason shooting up into this area and then receded right back, it would make this nice little hole, right? And if it was curved and you dropped a fishing line down it, would just keep sliding down the hole for however far. I don't know typically how. I'll look it up, but go ahead. Sorry.
Well, also too, how are the people on the inner Earth going to breathe without these holes? Right, the hollow Earth people. I had to get air down there somewhere, y'all. Anyways.
I mean, that's probably what it is. It's probably just a vent.
It could be
right.
Some Anunnaki vent, some shit like that right down there. And they're like, yo, that redneck is throwing through a washing machine down here again. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But anyways.
Gift from the gods.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's where I question myself. But here's where I question myself. What would I do in this situation? So his neighbor and him are having a conversation, right? About, hey, my dogs won't go near that hole. And his neighbor casually says to him, speaking of dogs, mine died about 2 days ago when I chucked its ass in that hole. Right. And,
yeah, right.
And He just showed back up this morning, walking around, and he won't answer me. He won't come over here to me anymore. But he's wearing the same collar he had on, right? So again, how my mind works is like, why would you chuck your dog down that hole? But I thought to myself, like, would I chuck a dog down that hole? And then it's like, well, is it like my dog or is it like just a random dead dog? So like, I don't know.
No, I think it was his. It was his dog.
Oh yeah, it was definitely his dog. But I'm saying, would I do it, right? Would I like?
But these are farmers, man.
Hardcore, man.
Different.
Okay.
It's different.
And
these are. I think these are ranchers out in like.
Yeah.
Out west.
Yeah. So, anyways, the dog showed back up. So now to add to the mystery, we have an 80,000 foot unending hole that's been reinforced at the top with bricks, Pet Cemetery like portal something or whatever comes back a dog.
Right.
So, anyways, that's weird. And so this guy says, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And then he actually makes a mistake that I think turns out to be his downfall. Shocker, he dies in the end. But anyway, so it turns out to be a mistake. He goes on this old radio station show called Coast to Coast AM or whatever. And it's basically the first form of like these type of podcasts where people will call him and tell the weird stuff that was going on. So he calls this guy, I can't remember this cat's name off the top of my head. Tells him his story, and he goes into so much detail about the story. The next day, the U.S. military shows up at his house. Well, not his house. They show up on his property, rolling in with choppers and Humvees, and he hears what's going on, and he tries to go back there, and they stop him. And they're saying, hey, look, we're running military exercises back here. You can't be here. But he's like, hey, Lily, this is my property, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy was like, hey, look, I don't care. Technically, it's not your property anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, hey, look, we're here now. We're doing this. Don't come around anymore, right? Is what they told him. And he's one of the earlier like descriptions of Men in Black is what he was talking about. A guy in a suit, not dressed in military, is telling him don't come around no more. So then he goes back to the radio show, tells them what's going on, and gets a little press going, and then he goes back there, and they're like, hey, look, dude, you got two options. And he says, look, you can we're going to give you $3 million a year for the rest of your life, but I want you to leave America, never to return, or we're going to find a drug lab on your property, and we're going to put you in jail. That was his two options, right? I'm going with option A.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of a choice no choice scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to give you an offer you can't refuse, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. And so...
But it never works out that way because they just can't stay away,
no, that's,
right?
That's
like,
my thing, man.
Works.
Pay me $3 million to leave right now. Right now. And all I got to do is never come back. Bro, I will walk out with my socks on, bro. I will just get in the truck, man. Right now.
Walk out with my socks.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 mil. Well, I mean, and then you got to think about inflation, right? So that's probably equivalent to about eight or nine now.
Yeah.
Right?
A year?
Present time money.
No problem.
9 mil.
Yep.
No one would ever find me ever again.
No, for sure.
Nope.
So anyways, he takes the deal, takes the 3 mil, goes to Australia, and he's down there for 2 years. And during that 2 years that he's in Australia, he somehow, and this is where this story is actually well studied, and there's a lot of good evidence back, a lot of good art. I don't want to use artifacts, but there's good.
There's like, I mean, yeah, he was. A lot of his story is verifiable.
Verifiable.
Right? He was where he said he was when he said he was there, and that's what's fascinating about the whole thing, right?
Yeah. And so what I don't understand is the next part here. He started missing his family. Okay, and he comes back.
He did it.
Question in the back. You know planes work both ways, bro. You know that, right? You can put them on a plane. And they can come see you as well. And you can go back and forth. But he makes the mistake of coming back. And when he comes back...
Hey, fly your whole family to wherever you're at. Right?
Bro, and when he comes back, to America. They yoke him, right? They yank him up, man. And he actually says that he lands in America, wakes up 12 days later in an alley in San Francisco with what appears to be IV marks in his arm, mouthful of blood where they pulled his teeth out. And people want to say, well, why would they pull his teeth out? Well, what if I told you that it wasn't beyond the possibility that they gassed him in the middle of the night and they put some kind of tracking device in his molars so they would know when he would come back into the country, right? And that when he came back, they had planned to get rid of him and they just pulled it out of his head, right? And so, again...
So they wouldn't be there for the autopsy, right?
Yeah, again, so that part to me, that's not weird to me that they yanked his back teeth out, right? That's not weird, right?
There are also drugs that are, one in particular, that if used in an interrogation, you'll not only be amnesiac afterwards, but you won't, you will be completely compliant, right? So, like, if they were to want to torture him, they wouldn't need to pull his teeth or anything. No. So it is, from a torture perspective, I'm just saying, like, eliminating that possibility, because it's not like was something that would be a torture tactic.
There's no reason to torture the cat, man. This is definitely this is definitely who have you talked to, who have you told this to, what's been going on, blah blah blah. Matter of fact, that drug that they use, man, is actually, they did a documentary on it for in Colombia, and there's like a drug that you can smell. And it will turn you into a zombie where you will do whatever you're told.
We're talking about the same one. Yeah. I just didn't want to say it.
I'm not gonna tell the kids. Don't eat Tide Pods either, dumbasses. Yeah. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't do. Look, there's 3. Look, here you go. Here's another. Are you ready for another one? Here's 3 things.
Another tool tip for survival.
Women mostly got it figured out, right? Right. If you're a woman, as long as you don't get knocked up by the wrong dude, you're gonna have a good life. All right. So now, for you men out there, we're a little bit slower, a little bit risk-takier. We do some dumb stuff. So I'm going to tell you the 3 things to avoid to have a good life if you're a man. Number 1, drugs. Number 2, gambling. Number 3, the wrong woman. If you avoid those 3 things, you'll have a great life. So don't go to Colombia.
Or a greatly improved one for sure.
Definitely raise your chances up. So don't go to Colombia and do that drug. I'm not even going to tell you the name of it. A lot of people. Right. And don't eat Tide Pods, stupid. So anyways, pulled his teeth out. He wakes up.
No bleach is not good for viruses.
Right.
Don't drink bleach either.
Don't drink bleach. Please. But yeah, so that's why he came back around, and he literally, the next thing that happened was his accounts were emptied. He had charges against him for illegal construction on his property, which the people did, but you can't prove that they were ever there. And his life went to shit for a little while, right? He calls the radio station up again and was talking to these guys down there, and they were like trying to help him, get his life together. And this is where the story gets even like weirder. He gets contacted by a group of people called the Basque, right? This is fill that in, Jay. Who the Basque are?
So this is a really weird thing to me, right?
I thought it was weird too.
The Basque are European, right? They inhabit a region right between Spain and France. Mm-hmm. So they speak a lot. I would imagine a lot of them speak both, but there is also, I believe, a distinct dialect that they have, right? But they settled in America in a couple places and are given the use of public land for their for raising sheep.
Yeah, why?
Which I thought was weird, right?
So weird, right?
But
so I mean, so like up in PA, man, they got the Dutch Amish that have their own dialect, right? And so, but that land they own that land though, right?
What do you mean?
The Dutch Amish.
Yeah.
That's theirs.
Absolutely. The Amish own the land, right? They've owned it for hundreds of years.
You want to go to a party? That's a tradition. Here's another one to you. You want to go to a good party? Yo, get yourself down to one of them rump springers, dog. While them Amish chicks are working it out before they go back to the farm.
I can neither confirm nor deny any of those
things. Anyways, go ahead.
But yeah, they typically own.
Yeah.
I mean, they own the property because they farm it. Like literally, they subsistence farm at the very least. But typically they own a lot, right? Because they'll just like Lancaster, right? It's a big tourist attraction for Amish.
Smells like poop, by the way.
Buggy ride,
all of Lancaster smells like
a
giant cow took a shit there. That's all Lancaster smells like, man.
Dude, it's a fascinating kind of weird, traditional 1700s culture meets 2025 or 2024. What year is it? I don't know.
2024.
Still.
Just getting started, baby. Just getting warmed up, dog.
Getting started. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least, because there's ones in between too. Like the Mennonites they'll drive cars, but there's other rules, and it's all very complicated. I try to understand it, but
they have their own dialect though, just like these Basques.
They do. It's Pennsylvania Dutch, right? It's a little bit off. It's a little bit off from normal Dutch, but yeah, there's signs here in the hospitals and stuff that are written in Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah, I don't speak
it, man. Right. My grandparents did.
I believe it.
My grandparents, all four of them spoke it. I didn't speak it at all.
Such a hillbilly nerd. Go outside, you nerd. Anyways, so this is somewhere in Nevada. They contact this guy up via the radio station, and they got a hole too. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. 2 holes.
Another hole.
Another hole. And so he somehow, because of just process of elimination, is a murder hole expert. And so murder hole expert, man. So he goes out.
We're calling it Mel's murder hole.
Yeah, man, murder holes, man. It's definitely a murder hole, man. Like a pet cemetery murder hole, man. So he goes out there. They call him into the scene. And there's odd similarities to these 2 holes. 1, obviously, these holes appear to be never ending. 2, the holes have been there before the people showed up. It was there, wasn't dug. The hole was 9 feet 9 inches diameter, the same 9 feet 9 inches diameter that Jay was just telling you about. This was between, I want to say, Nevada and somewhere else. There's no lava tubes out there, period, right? This hole, the only difference is that this hole was reinforced for 15 feet with some type of metal and not stone. And this metal would not get hot, would not get cold, and would not vibrate. You can bang it with a hammer and it would not make any noise.
It would make a sound. That's what's weird, right?
So that's weird.
Right?
That's weird.
You drop a hammer on metal, it's going to go tink, no matter what.
That's weird, right? So that's weird. So they do what anybody else would do in that situation. Jay, grab a sheep.
No. The one guy said,
"Oh,
I'll go down."
Exactly.
That guy.
Exactly.
Here.
I forgot that.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
The one.
I'll go down. It's fine.
Guarantee he was white. The one white dude they adopted the tribe.
Basque.
Yeah,
he was one of the Basque.
He was one of the Basque.
And he volunteered. He was like, "I'll go down the hole."
Right.
And they're like, "That is a horrible."
Yeah, there was a guy there that volunteered to go down the hole. And they're like, "No, you can't go down that hole.
Let's grab a sheep instead."
Grab a sheep. Before they put the sheep down there, they wanted to run a test though. They took they took a bucket of ice to make sure that the sheep wouldn't cook when it was down there or whatever. They run the ice down. I forget how far they went down. A good amount. I want to say 500 feet jumps in my head right now. I don't know what it is. They had already established that it was like never ending like the other one before. They go down there, they pull the ice up, but here's where it gets weird. The ice had somehow saltified, if that's a word. It like became salty, like salt, like ice.
It was some kind of. It was not ice anymore. It was dry, crystalline something.
Dry crystallization. And it was warm. It wasn't cold. It was warm. It didn't melt. And so they set it on fire. And it was...
That's what you do with,
of course. Why would you not do that?
Crystals that you pulled out of the ground that were once ice, you set them on fire.
Exactly, right? We're going to go right to it.
Why not?
I guarantee they licked it first. Somebody licked it. Probably the guy that was recommended them to go down the hole. He licked it first. That was left out of the story.
You gotta lick it first, man.
Gotta lick it first, man. Licked it first, right? So then what they did is that, all right, sheep up. And again, I think to myself, am I the type of dude that would throw a sheep in a crate and lower it into a murder hole? And I got to say to myself, is it my sheep? Is it mine? Right? Have I established a connection? Like, have I named this thing, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know that I could do it. I like animals. Well, I mean, even sheep.
Well, my thing is that was there not any goats available? You ever seen a goat's eyes?
I like goats too, though.
Oh my God, that's Satan. Those are from hell.
They're just goats, man.
Nah, man. Here's a fun fact from the ancient Enigma files.
Yoga.
Goats will scare the shit out of you because they actually can walk on 2 feet and sometimes just stand up and walk around like on 2 feet. Look it up on the internet if you want to see it. And
oh no, I've seen it.
Yeah, no, and they got the weird. Their eyes are all
goat eyes.
They're all wrong. There's like a rectangle. Yeah, there's They have a rectangle in the middle of their eyes instead of a circle, right? And I'm like,
it's just a different. Yeah. It's like octopus to have the same kind of eyes.
Yeah, why? How did evolution? Well, I mean, so yeah, slit eyes to see at night, right? But like, what did evolution? What caused that? I know the answer. Do you know the answer?
I have no idea.
Satan. That's the answer right there. They're devil. They're devil. There's
and the answer. I don't know if it is the answer.
Oh yeah. Have you ever seen the Baphomet? What's on it?
Yeah.
What is it?
I've seen.
What is it? Enigmites? What is it?
Upside down pentagram with the beard and the horns
and a goat face.
It's a goat face. Yeah, but it's a goat. It's a goat faced demon, not. All goats are demons.
All goats are demons. Don't fuck with them. Don't eat them. Don't eat them. Don't play with them. So, anyways, yeah, I'm dumping a fucking goat down that hole. Nope, right off the problem, right? So, okay, I shouldn't have cursed like that. That's how I get way too passionate about how bad I hate goats and sheep. Yeah.
Why not a mouse or a rat or something like that?
Yeah,
I feel like it would be easier to handle.
And is there a part of me that I want to talk Dave into going down that hole? Dave, I think to defend Dave. So Dave.
I would have to really fight the intrusive thoughts of, yeah, man, do it. Right? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like, Dave wants to go. Like, who are we to say no, right?
I mean, I'm all for self-determination. I feel like people should make whatever decision they want to make. If Dave wants to crawl down the hole, I feel like in the pictures I saw, it looked like there was a rung there.
And he could technically hold the goat. It was like saying, like, how do you want to? How do?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could put the goat in a backpack, and then he can climb down the rung.
So, anyways, they loaded up Sheila. That's what I call the.
Good as name as any.
Yeah, lowered it down, left it down there for 30 minutes, pulled it back up. Shocker, it was dead. Right.
Imagine
the goat was dead, and again, I have to.
Sheila the sheep.
Huh?
Sheila the sheep.
Sheila the sheep. Rest in peace for science, right?
Rest in peace.
So these guys, like MIT's got nothing on these cats because they immediately
dissect it,
pull out the knives and open this bad boy up.
I mean, this is what they do. They butcher sheep for a living.
Yeah. So they butchered the sheep, and the sheep meat is actually disgusting, and it seems to have been completely cooked, right?
From the inside out.
From the inside out. So that makes me think some type of microwave type of something was going on down there. That's what I thought, right?
Which would track with the weird radio wave interference he was getting from the other one.
Right. And not to make this like sound plausible, because I have no idea what would cause microwaves to occur in a murder hole that never ends. But anyway, so
me neither.
I'll take that back. Probably the Anunnaki. But anyway, so look.
Or Satan.
Now you're learning.
Yeah, learning. I'm catching on quick.
Catching on, right?
I'm fast.
But that ain't the weird part about this, man. That ain't the weird part about this either.
Not the weirdest part, no.
No, and so
this is where it goes off.
And here's where
the shark. Familiar?
This is definitely the jump the shark moment, and I got to tell you, here's where I think my pistol comes out. To be honest, right? And I'm thinking that we have to. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And so they found a placebo.
Placebo?
Whatever.
No, it was.
What? I don't even know how to describe
I
this
heard
thing.
it described as a fetal seal.
A fetal. Yeah. A fetal seal. Not like a seal on like a letter, y'all. Like a
No,
seal you see in the ocean.
like
Right.
porn, circus.
Yeah, seal. There was basically a baby seal that came out of this thing, according to them.
With, to top it all off, pretty blue eyes.
Yeah, well, oh, that's right. Yeah, with human eyes, right?
Right, pretty blue human eyes.
Exactly.
Now, wait a minute. Human eyes, immediately, typically you don't see animals with blue eyes. When you look at a husky, his eyes look human, right? So blue eyes on an animal will set off a little bit of that uncanny valley. And so if there was something that came out of there, legit, something that did come out of there and it was moving, like some kind of maybe this pregnant and this thing was kind of alive still.
Am I the only one that has a joke in his mind about how you put a pregnant sheep with human eyes on a sheep farm?
I wasn't gonna go.
I'm just saying, like, you know, like,
shepherd route.
Okay, there. Next time, don't put a pregnant sheep in the murder hole. Anyway, so we're just gonna assume that the farmers
don't put your favorite.
Exactly right.
Sheep.
We're gonna assume that the sheep was unviolated prior to going into that hole, and that what it was ever in that murder hole somehow put something inside it.
Evidently wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah, and so this thing not only had human eyes, but it actually had the look of intelligence in its eyes. In fact, they said that they got the feeling that it was studying them, and as they were looking at it. And here's another thing that I thought that was strange too. This went on for 2 hours, fam.
2 hours.
2 hours.
They sat and stared at each other for 2 hours?
2 hours. And I'm thinking that's probably very believable, because that's not a number I would just randomly pick. How long did you stare lovingly into this demon's eyes? 2 hours. It's very specific right there, how they were locking that down, right?
Pretty specific.
And so what they did was, after that is that they got the feeling that I don't even know what to call this thing, man.
Seal.
The baby seal demon wanted to go back into the murder hole.
Just call it a homunculus.
The homunculus wanted to go back into the murder hole. And so they stepped up, gave it the boot, and punted its ass right back into that monkey hole or the murder hole after staring at it for 2 hours.
What I came upon was, got a little bit different, was it yeeted itself into the hole.
It heaved itself in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
you know, like
see,
into the
I'm thinking that that's not how I would have played it out, y'all. So
I don't know.
I'm just thinking.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking.
I don't know.
Step aside, y'all. I've been trained. Step aside, y'all.
When you do with something like
put a hole in it, Jay. What do you mean? What do you do with it? Look, what are you not grasping here?
I don't know.
A sheep goes into a murder hole.
At that point,
it comes
these
up
guys. First of all, the whole situation makes me uncomfortable. Right? The Native Americans contacted him, led him off the res because the new hole, was not on the res.
It's not.
It was somewhere else. Led him to another undisclosed location on public land somewhere with a group of Basques, random people. Shepherds spend a lot of time alone in the woods with sheep. I don't know, man. It's a lot, right?
Yeah. Now, I had given the disclaimer that this was going to be one of the weirder things that we've ever talked about, and this is definitely one of the weirder things that's talked about, because I can say to this that I've never met the great Mel Waters, but everything that Mel Waters would do, I would have done the exact freaking opposite. Like, bro, were you trying to get all these decisions wrong? I don't even know. I'm going the other direction. And I say that I draw a line in the sand of demon seals coming out of Sheila.
Sheep.
I gotta draw a line in the sand on that, right? And so
and then it yeeted itself back in the hole, and they went about their business.
they went about the business. And y'all, this ain't the end. This ain't the end. So what these Basques did is that they decided, instead of, hey, don't chuck the demon salt back into the bottomless pit of hell, right?
I'm gonna take it.
Let's keep it. Well, where are we gonna keep it?
Take it home.
Yeah, where are we gonna store it? Your house, mate. Hey, okay, right there. So not only are we gonna store it in my house, I'll use it to cook my food. And that's what he does. He goes home and he puts this salt, demon crystal,
we'll call it flaming salt. He puts it in his stove.
Sulfur, literally into his stove, and it's heating his house for like a month, except for all of a sudden it starts sucking the moisture out of the wood that's in his house. Basically, everything sucking.
Everything.
And then it falls through the floor. And he's like,
"Oh,
it did. It literally." And so they try to, pull it back out. They can't, so they leave it down there, and they board the walls up just because this guy. And again, I got to question these people. He says it's still warming his house, still burning.
You either have to make good decisions or have good luck.
Oh, I will tell you this, guys. I've said this all the time. If you're not smart, you had better be strong, because life is hard for stupid, right? And so,
yep.
So it doesn't stop there, Enigmites. This thing literally starts going down deeper and deeper and deeper, and it goes down to about 5 feet before somebody says, "Hey, look, man, this ain't right. We got to pull it out." But they can't. They can't pull it out. It has actually started to take on weight, but the mass of it hasn't changed. It has just gotten heavier, right? So eventually they hook up some chains, a tractor, and they pull it out. And they start getting dreams from the demon seal. Right? This is a true story. And the demon seal saying, "Hey, you got to be careful with that. It'll destroy the planet. It's trying to dig another hole." So they took it back and chucked it into the other hole, the old hole that's still there, and it went back to whatever was down there. Now,
dimension or anomalous magnetic
and
craziness.
I thought dogmen were weird, bro. I thought that was a weird topic. This totally just blows my mind.
It's wild.
So here's the question. Wild. Here's the question. These things. What are they, Jay? What are they? Make it make sense.
Okay. First of all, I feel like his fishing line was coiling at the bottom of the hole at some point, because if you go that far down, bad things start to happen. Literally 80,000 feet is deeper than pretty much any hole that's been dug.
15 miles. Yeah.
8 miles is like the deepest I think we've gone.
Yeah, wasn't that the experiment that the Russians were doing? They were digging a hole, got down 8 miles, got too hot. They had to plug it up, pull it out. But that's what they want you to believe. The true story is they started hearing screams and demon sounds coming out of it, so that's why they plugged the hole.
I've heard that too.
So
I have heard that they started to hear really weird noises coming out of there. But you got to think, man, like, okay, that deep of a hole, things start to get really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The farther you go down, the closer you get, obviously, to lava. We know lava comes out. Come on. I mean, we can't, like, that's an undeniable thing. Even the flat earthers agree that a volcano exists, right? Go deep enough, you're going to hit hot. We drilled 12 kilometers, and that is 7.4 miles, I believe.
So about half the distance that he said.
About 40,000 feet, right?
About half the distance he said.
About half the distance he said.
And they had to stop.
And they had to stop because it was too hot.
Yeah. How deep have you ever been underground?
Me?
Yeah.
I did not at all. Like I haven't even ever gone in a cave.
I've been 1 mile.
Okay.
And it was actually, if you're ever going down 81, stop in the Shenandoah Caverns down there and go in there, right? And take the tour. And they will take you down to the very, very bottom. It goes deeper, but they don't go deeper, right? They'll take you down to the bottom, right? And it was 1 mile down, and they do this thing which is absolutely terrifying, right? Where they'll turn the light off for like 20 seconds, right? And there's something about that type of darkness. You can feel the weight of it. It's weird. Like it's weird. Like if you go in the closet and you close the door, right? It's pitch black, right? But when we were down 1 mile down, they turned the light off. I could feel the earth. I could feel that there was something above me, right?
There's a sense of pressure.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good word for it, right? So yeah, so this guy's saying, do you believe his story?
I believe parts of this story.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there was probably a hole.
Right.
Now, would I like the ham radio thing?
Mm-hmm.
Very plausible, right? Even if there's a big kind of well, and radio waves are going to get down there and just bounce everywhere, and you're going to get crazy shit, right? So if it happens to be on, like the weather's right, and it tunnels right through the clouds, bounce back and forth through the clouds, and then just shoots down, because that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Radio waves do weird things, right? Sometimes. It could reverberate out of that hole. It could be collecting stuff, right? And if there's enough iron, nickel, whatever in the walls of that deep ass hole, any kind of radio waves that get in there are just going to bounce back and forth forever. Like, and that could even create a microwave effect. I don't know. I'm just spitballing because,
so
I'm a physicist.
I got to tell you, man, like for me, I want to not believe this story. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why I think it's full of it. But there's also things in here that makes that proves that there's some truth to it. And I'll tell you the.
I think it would be useful to divide the story in half.
I do too.
Right.
So
pre-Australia Mel and post-Australia Mel.
So I do believe that there is a hole, right? A lot of people have went looking for this hole. You can't find it. His description of where the hole was at was very accurate. The U.S. military showing up, that's actually probably wasn't actually U.S. military at the time. That was probably still CIA using contractors dressed in military type clothing.
Or just straight up Lockheed Martin / Northrop Grumman / any of the military industrial complex, right?
Exactly. They've known for 50. They're well, people don't realize. I hope you'll get from this channel. We joke around a lot, but when I tell you that you're 100 years behind what we actually have, that you think we don't have, we're 100 years behind what they use that you don't know. So whatever that hole is that they wanted, they know why they wanted it, and they know what to do with it. They're not there to explore it. They know what it is, right? And the only thing that makes me think that I want to say that part is real, but this part right here, you don't get $3 million in a trip to Australia. You get your ass, you get a shot in the back of your head right about here, and you go in that,
your own hole.
And you go in that hole, right? They don't make those deals with you, right? It's not like, hey man, here's $3 million, never come back. And you don't take a farmer out of Monash Ridge, give him $3 million a year, and go to Australia, and he just starts missing his family to come back. That's I will say that, but I will say I've seen people with more money do dumber shit than come back. I've seen it. I've seen people with more money
absolutely.
do dumber stuff and end up getting a bullet for it, and all you had to do was stay gone, right? So I can't rule that out.
Yeah.
I can't rule that out. And so that part right there, I'm just like, damn, man, like, why would they make that deal? Just kill him. I mean, because that's how they operate. That's literally how they operate. It's either you don't talk about this or you die. It's not like, or here's $3 million, right? You could have led with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, here's $3 million. All right, cool. I'll buy you the property, right?
And he doesn't live on the property.
Yeah.
It's something apart from where he lives.
They made access roads to get back there to it, right? Like vehicles back there.
Who's gonna know that? Who's gonna know where he went? Right?
But, yeah, exactly.
I went out to check the property.
Fell in the hole. Fell in the hole. Who's gonna say it? So yeah. So another thing, but that's like, okay, I'm on the fence about that, bro. But then I think to myself, like, okay, there was a second hole, well documented. And then there's Skinwalker Ranch that's out there in Utah that's in between these two places. And that place is, we're going to do a podcast on that with Scott from Mysterious Planet.
I'm not familiar. That'll be good because I'm not familiar with that story.
That's just as weird as this, right? It's just as weird, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I can't rule these type of anomalies out, right? I just can't rule them out, right? And yeah, man, I don't know what to think about this, brother. I really don't. I don't know where to go with this, man. Like, fake, not fake. I mean,
again, I cut it in half, right? And I think the initial story, right? The way people respond to attention, always, right?
Right.
They want to continue to receive that attention, typically, by and large.
Right.
It's kind of hardwired into humans, right? Like, we're social creatures. Once we start, you get attention for something, the dopamine starts flowing and all the chemicals start flowing, right? The neurochemical soup is addictive to a certain extent.
Not me. I'm too humble. I'm so humble.
You had an anomalous hole.
Too humble.
And what's that?
I'm too humble. The face of humility.
You're right. Right.
Mother trucker.
Right? And I think that he had an interesting story, and I think it started to just get out of his hands. And then there was, all of a sudden there was a homunculus. And
so yeah, man, that's another thing too. That's actually, it's very good. That's a good point right there. You can have an amazing story, right? And then like there's some people just for some reason still want to take that amazing story and just like make it even so much on that. There's a story I'm going to tell on this channel. I was actually talking to somebody today with it. He knows this story. Only a handful of people know this story. I'm going to do it around when we get enough people on an audience on here. This directly happened to me over 2 years, right? And I've told this story the few times I've told it. I've never embellished on it because this story was like, I don't even know where I could embellish on it, right? But the whole demon seal out of the sheep thing, man, that's a little weird to me, bro. And then like the whole, it's talking to them now and it like wanted to go back in its hole.
I had a feeling of joy. I feel like that speaks to, you're touching on a bunch of stuff that pull people in, right? Like, I'm a storyteller, man. I know what embellishment looks and sounds like, right? Like, I feel like that just it lends an air of mysticism to the whole that it doesn't necessarily need.
It doesn't need that, man. Yeah.
Because you got this weird, okay, so the Native Americans are taking you to see the Basque. Do they have a relationship? Like, is that a thing? I don't know enough about it to say, but I mean, typically Native Americans stay away from white people.
Who knows?
It hasn't been a good deal for them, and I feel like that's justified, right? Like, suspicious of white people. I mean,
I guess a murder hole brings everybody together. Then I don't know. Like,
I'm suspicious of white people, for Christ's sake. Like, I mean, Jesus. No, I mean, I don't know. It just kind of falls apart after the first.
Yeah,
part of the story for me.
I think that the story from his hole on his property and finding a second hole with the same properties, that is amazing enough. And that's where it should be on it. I think that some stuff happened to this guy. And you never know.
I mean,
you never know. You
here's
don't know
the
what's
thing.
going on in people's heads, man.
A deep enough hole, birds will avoid it because there's like it's a weird thing. I mean, that is kind of a ding, but like that I've heard of now. Somebody's going to fact check that and be like, "You're wrong."
Oh, we get fact checked all the time.
Doesn't matter. I recall something about a deep enough hole and birds will like fly around it. The other thing is birds are also very sensitive to magnetics.
Yeah, vibrations and right? all that other type of stuff as well.
Magnetics specifically, because that's how they navigate. That's how they migrate, right? Mm-hmm. They have there's, I can't remember. I want to say it's some part of their brain or an organ or something like that that has like a high degree of magnetite in it or something like that. But they can almost feel the magnetic field, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that they would be sensitive to something like that. If there was some kind of radio wave interference coming out of that hole, the birds are going to be sensitive to it.
And look, so another thing too is that, like, there's portals on this earth, man. Portals open up on this earth all the time. Like you can hear stories of people going through hiking through the woods and remote places, and like 4 or 5 of them, and guy number 3 just disappears, right? And right. So that's like also too, the Bermuda Triangle. If you shot a rod right through the middle of it, it would come out near Japan, what they call the Dragon Triangle. There's a vortex directly between it. So the Japanese, south of Japan, they have their own Bermuda Triangle called the Dragon Triangle. There are things that are, and there's always pyramids underwater near these things, because these pyramids are power plants, right? So they do generate some type of magnetic frequency, right? And we are completely, I want to say this, and I hope it's as offensive to possible to all physicists and theoretical physicists. You are completely ignorant and completely wrong about how everything works in this universe, to the fact that you can't prove anything, right? All you can do is, I had a good conversation in the comment section of a dude who was defending physicists, and I asked him, what have they ever proven? And he says, well, 20 or 30 or 50 years, it'll be proven. Okay, well, come talk to me in 20 or 30 or 50 years, because right now you haven't proved anything. And I'll tell you why, right? I'll tell you why. And I see your face crinkling over there.
Yeah, because I mean,
you can't even tell me how gravity works. A theoretical physicist, I think it's called the theory of relativity.
That one I will give you. Gravity is still kind of a mystery.
The thing that affects every single thing on this planet. You don't have a clue how it works.
We have a better idea of it now than we did.
Oh, you have a better idea
for
of
sure.
it? Right.
Hey, they detected gravity waves.
Oh my God! Well, oh my God! That's right up there with the useless ass Higgs boson.
It's better than we knew before, right?
Exactly.
It fluctuates.
And how many years did it take to do that? How many millions of dollars salaries do I got to pay to these ignorant, arrogant pricks?
We had to have the technology to be able to measure that sort of stuff. Man.
Get out of here. They don't prove nothing, right? Because you know why they can't prove anything, family? Because they're looking in the wrong direction. It's all wrong. Nikola Tesla was the closest thing, and I'm convinced of this more. I'm reading this book, and I don't want to recommend this book until I finish reading it, because I'm going to have to probably read it twice, because it's big words, y'all. A lot of big words in there.
A lot of big words.
His ideas were laughed at the time. But it's that ether, man. It's that electric universe theory.
Electrogravitic universe.
That is the answer. That is the answer. I'm telling you, man. The answer.
I think it's just a matter of semantics, right? Tesla called it the ether.
Right. By the way, you will not get a physicist to mention that word in
right. They think it's a bad word, and that is definitely something I disagree with. Disagree with because it's a good way of describing space-time.
Where's the rewind button? Where's the rewind? You actually disagreed with the theoretical physicist?
Well, yeah, because it's just a word, right? Like, it's just a word. First of all, it's a really good word though to describe space-time. Right? Something that makes more sense than just saying space-time, because space and time can be different things, right? Like for the average person, right? when you say space-time to the average person, they're like, right? A better way to explain it would be ether. And I think Tesla had some wisdom there in describing it that way, right?
Yeah, you think he was smart? So here.
Oh, absolutely. He was one of the most brilliant men
of course. I was being a jerk. Of course he was smart.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So listen, Jay. Here's my problem with your people, right? Here's my problem with your people. Yeah, they're your people. Right? Enigmites are with me. Right? You're with the CERN devil worshippers on that end over there. Okay. These people are supposedly so. There's more. Again, we've talked about wisdom and knowledge. We've talked about the difference, right? You're supposed to be so smart. You're supposed to be so open, but their minds are so closed that they won't even use a word that one of the smartest people on the planet. They won't even use the word because he used the word, right? That is closed-minded. That is not how you discover anything, man. And I will tell you this.
I do agree that there has been definitely some problems in science in the last.
The only one worth
decades. And one of them that hits me real hard because it hits me personally is Alzheimer's research, right?
Right.
This one guy doing this research and faking it and setting back Alzheimer's research 20 years just because. What he wanted to have good results. So
no, because he wanted his tenure at the university to give lectures to 14, 15-year-old prodigies. They're hacks. They're a scam.
Whatever the motivation, it was
the only one who's worth his salt is Michio Kaku. I'm probably messing his name up. He's the only one that will say. He's the only theoretical physicist you'll ever hear say these words. We don't know. Hey, but we
because he's honest about it, right? He doesn't, and that's one of the big things. Is
no ego.
He's afraid of looking. Yeah, exactly.
No ego.
It's a lot about ego.
Right.
You can't be afraid to admit when you're wrong or when you don't know. I mean, like there is a lot we don't know. There's some things that we figured out, like. Obviously, we figured some stuff out. Otherwise, you and I would not be doing this thing right now, right?
Theoretical physics did nothing about it. They didn't make OBS.
And my signal right now is traveling on a beam of light. I mean, that's physics in action.
I'll give you that, man. I'm gonna. How do you rule?
You can thank Gen X for that too, by the way.
Huh? Give you 9. I give.
Thank Gen X for that too, by the way.
Zach, you're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome, y'all.
Welcome.
So anyways, so how I loop this all back around to how useless theoretical physicists are and how useless CERN is and how useless everything that they're trying to reproduce in a lab you can find naturally in nature. I guarantee that, right? You want to open up portals? Why not go out there? You know what? They probably already know. Why don't you go out there where natural occurrences of portals actually occur, right?
Now, look, there are people. See, and this is where it touches on some of the things that I have problems with, right? I feel like there is too large of a portion of the academic community who will be very dismissive of someone who doesn't have a degree.
Oh, bro.
Right? And there have been really, really smart people who have figured some shit out and had no piece of paper to back that up. They just kept going until they figured it out, right? And so I feel like these people need to be not so dismissive of some of these other things that have come around.
Let me ask you a question. And so those are your people, by the way. They're not my people. My people are the.
Well, I mean, see, here's the thing. I like to be right on the thing here, right? Like, I believe that there's some scientists, like, for example, I won't get into it too deep. Roshan and Godin did an experiment, these guys in Russia, to replicate something that this guy in Scotland did a long time ago in the 60s, right? It's called a Searle effect generator. Anti-gravity machine, right? Blah, blah, blah. Supposed to be pseudoscience. The thing is, they got results.
Yeah, I mean, for you people watching, right? For you people watching at home, that means it worked. Go ahead.
Right. It worked, right? They changed it a little bit around, but they got a similar effect to the one that Searle claims he got. Now, Searle is this dude from Scotland, and there's a checkered past there, right? Like there's it's like the Mel's whole story a little bit, right? There's some stuff there, questionable, but you can't question the Russians because they documented everything and it was a funded scientific experiment, right? They wrote a paper on it and everything.
And then it has to go to this thing what they call a peer review, where they go and they get the other guys who drink tea with soft hands and scarves and say, "Oh, this can't be right. Oh, this can't be right." And it takes 7 years and it comes back. Let me ask you this:
there were other people who reproduced it.
Exactly. If you had to go to war tomorrow, right? Do you want to go to war with a guy that's done 3 tours or a guy that's read 3 books? You go with the guy that's done 3 tours. That's why they're all useless. They're all devil worshippers, and there's nothing. And here it is too, man. I've learned this. I'm actually seeing this taking place, and it's kind of sad. You want to know how to make the most bitter human beings on earth? This is true, and I'm not joking when I say this. If a guy or a girl who thinks they are smart, like highly intelligent, but they're not recognized for being highly intelligent, they get extremely, extremely bitter. They turn into crazy cat ladies and all that type of stuff like that, right? There's nothing more dangerous on the planet than a smart person who it feels underappreciated or is not
feels underutilized.
Underutilized. Thank you for the word, sir. And that's why you have all these guys that are refusing to accept truth and reality right now. They've been telling you for your entire lives that the Great Pyramid was a burial chamber. They have never found a body in that. There's never been a body in there. If you ever go to the Great Pyramid and look at the burial chamber, you mean to tell me that these people who thought they were gods, this is where they wanted to be laid? It's not. It was some type of chemical release thing, smooth walls. There's nothing in there, right? We didn't build that.
That's where the reactor goes.
Exactly. They were power plants. It's going to come out, and they're going to force to have to do it. The Egyptians didn't build that. And here you go too. I know this loves to piss people off. You Africans didn't build it either. The Kemets migrated north after Nebuchadnezzar swooped down and smoked everybody from the Jews down to the he plundered Egypt. He destroyed it. Mm-hmm. He took everybody back as slaves. There was no one there. You understand? They were all gone. You either got killed or the ones who ran away and survived scattered out. He didn't leave anybody back there. And so the Kemets, which were in Africa, the middle part, when they went north, they found it. And here you go too. I'm going to bust you guys' bubbles here. Right? Because I love to piss people off on this argument. You mean to tell me that a bunch of 5'4" dudes wearing a white diaper and a can-do attitude built these megalithic structures perfectly with bronze hammers and rocks? It didn't happen, y'all. It didn't happen.
Well, I mean, and then, on top of that, there's like Göbekli Tepe, where they have these huge monolithic stones everywhere.
Everywhere.
These huge monuments everywhere that who knows, like, there's been so many theories and so many like replication attempts. How do they get these rocks in place? Blah 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 blah. I don't know, man. Again, I always come back to the same thing. All of the stories, right? All of the stories tell us there was something else.
Yes.
And they're coming back, right?
And they're coming back.
All kind of agree that they're coming back.
There was something else. There was a flood, and they're coming back.
I think we all need to be a little bit more open-minded about considering the evidence that we have now of what is that thing in the sky evidence, right? Like full-on night vision, IR, military-grade, undeniable evidence of stuff that we can't identify.
Jellyfish UAPs flying around.
Whatever, right? Tic Tacs and black triangles and jellyfish,
murder holes
right?
in the middle of freaking
Murder holes.
bottomless pit, and
Obviously, the world is a little bit more strange than we all kind of want to admit.
And bro, and so too, also too, I just dawned on me, for anybody in the comments that ever tells me that, oh, white people just can't stand the fact that black people built. Look, white dudes didn't make it either. They ain't no white dudes.
Right.
A couple rednecks in a pickup truck might have a chance, but they weren't pickup trucks back there. We didn't make it either. We found that stuff. That's not there. That's left over from the flood. That's not there. Listen, y'all. Here you go. I'm gonna really piss you off now. Right? The Romans conquered Egypt and made them grow their grain, right? When the Romans went down to Egypt to see Egypt, they never once mentioned anything great about the architecture in Egypt because they didn't find it great. The Romans had indoor water. They had toilets. They had aquifers. They had concrete we just now recently figured out. They had self-healing concrete, right?
Yeah,
they just now figured out how to replicate that with limestone, right? They weren't impressed because there was nothing there to be impressed about. To them it was just a bag of rocks. Right? And it's it. We are on a magnificent planet. The mysteries on this planet are magnificent. If it's 2024, end of April, all you have to do is be alive and pay attention, and you will see that there is some weird shit going on.
Absolutely, right?
There are tic-tac UFOs.
Here's what's so fascinating about it, dude, is that it's always been happening.
Yeah. We
were just not able to communicate well enough to tell each other,
yeah,
there's so much weird shit happening.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
We weren't connected before.
I'm working on a story that just came out about a 300-kilometer circular UFO parking itself over New Mexico that happened twice. In 2020 and 2022, right? So all you people out there that say this only happens in America, no, it don't. It happens all over the place. People are just now saying like, "Hey, yeah, this is weird. That's weird." So come on, man. Don't tell me.
This only happens in America because we have access to American information.
Well, no, we're the only ones. So
think about it though. But China has had some really crazy incidents too.
Well, to back your point up there, right? To add some stuff on it, South Americans have always been open to reporting UFOs. Americans just ignored it. Now you're starting to pay attention, right? They've always said that stuff down there, right?
Well, and then the Russians have a whole military arm that has investigated that sort of.
So yeah, man. So look, come on, man. Come on, get with it. We don't live on a boring planet,
dude. Okay, it comes back to the whole, American. There's a definite strong undercurrent of religion in America.
Yeah, well,
that right.
Well,
and so. Typically, religion and UFOlogy, or however you want to throw that down, right? End up on different ends of the spectrum.
So here's but it is religion, but not the type of religion that you want to talk about. And
it's this weird conservatism. No, you know what I mean? We don't want to talk about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, so they don't want to talk about it. But here's where they lean towards. Those are demons, right? Is because this scumbag named Aleister Crowley, right? You can go look up this guy is, right? He was the head of the Satanic Church. He's the one that Jay-Z and Clive Davis and all these guys they pray to, right? He actually said he came into contact with a demon that looks like a big-headed alien, right? And about the same time that he published this, they were doing the early test for the unnecessary nuclear weapons that we were creating to punish the Japanese with. And about that time, right afterwards, Roswell happened. So one or two things either happened. That setting of those bombs off that we did ripped something open that allowed things to get here, or people in our universe said, hey, these monkeys aren't playing with sticks anymore. We need to go check these guys out, which I actually think is probably a combination of both, right? But we don't live on a boring planet, man. We don't live on a boring planet at all. I know. I do want to say something here, man. People that watch our show, man, I do want to say, some of you guys hit me up and you guys tell me, like, I got to be careful with how I word this, man. Like, you have things going on in your life, right, that aren't great, right? And you have things that you feel a certain way, right? Hey, bro, shake that. It's always the dudes. It's always dudes. It's always dudes, man. You guys need to walk that shit off, man. Hey, look, man, you're right now, man. Yeah, you're not useless. Yeah, you're not useless. No. You just got to grasp this. Yeah, you just got to grasp this in your head, bro. You've been lied to about everything. You are just the drone they turned you into. There's nothing to, go punch that clock, get that mortgage that chokes your life out of you, right? Now you can't move, right? Because you're upside down on the house, right? You can't move, right? You and your wife both work. Hey, man, I feel you, bro. But I'm telling you right now, it's all about the snap. It's all about the get better. But this world that we live in, man, the only way that they could do that in the past to us is by letting you think that there is no God. This is all there is. You wake up, you live, you work 70 years, and if you're lucky, you'll get 5 or 8 more years after that before you die. It's all wrong, man. This world, this earth that we live on, man, is amazing. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. So you guys, come on, man. Toughen up.
The whole probability of any of this being of happening is just astronomical. And you got to think, look, first of all, no one's useless, right? Yeah. Nobody.
Yeah.
You are 216 million individual moving parts.
Yeah,
right? There is nothing in the universe quite like you, period. And that goes for literally everyone.
And a drop of your blood contains DNA that they can now decode, that can literally read like a hard drive on your computer to tell you all the past generations' lives that you lived on, man. We are wonderfully and fearfully made, man. So I'm highly optimistic, right?
For sure.
What we got to do is, right, stay away from murder holes. All right? This is a no-go. These are no-goes. And don't put, and then no ghosts.
Stay away from the murder holes. Don't put sheep down weird things.
That's it.
And don't light weird ice on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think those are pretty good takeaways, right?
Before we wrap,
for real, like things are hard out there right now.
But getting better.
And they will get better. They really will. The thing I want to say is that you have to find people, right? We are social creatures. We're all in this together, man. Like,
yeah, bro.
We're not getting out alive for sure.
I am. I'm incredibly.
Look for each other. And here's the thing: you can't, like, they can stop one of you. They can convince one of you that you can't do any better. But if you get together and there's more of you, you become like your own force, right?
Yeah. And so
just being able to exercise like your will of like socializing and talking to each other, it's going to help, man, for sure.
Yeah. And so like, we don't just bring the problems here, man. We also bring the solutions. Me and this guy, we've built a Discord, right? We're still figuring some things out in there, man. But the Discord link is in our channel. You can join that Discord now. You can hang out. He is liable to respond to you a lot quicker. It's because he's just good like that.
Because I'm in the bubble.
Because he's in there. He's in the zone the whole time. I will respond to your DMs, but I'm a slow responder. I got a lot of things cooking in the back. But like, you can hang out with like-minded people, man. Don't feel like you're useless, man. And don't feel like, look, man, we can have, so come hang out with us. But anyways.
I'm always here to listen. And even if I don't respond right away, I'm always going to listen.
No, just ping him. Just direct message him. Ping.
Absolutely.
Ping. That's what I do. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Anyways, 3 things, all right, before we go forward here, before we wrap this up real quick. My nephew sent me a picture of some tanks out in California surrounding another blacked out hole. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Have you seen that?
I have not.
where the tanks are pointing out or whatever. He sent me the thing. I'll forward that to you. That I was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool, right? So, what are the possibilities that these holes they're finding are the cables that the moon connected to us when it pulled our Earth here? I froze your camera, dog. I froze your camera. What are the chances? What are the chances your camera froze? What are the chances that's what they are?
I say high probability, of course. Absolutely. Of course, yeah, right. Those are anchor lines. For sure.
Or what if they
are
actually what if they're actually the remnants of a subway system that connected continents? Like if we get in it, man, we show up somewhere like in Russia, the other one goes to like China, something like that, right? Right?
Well, they made a show. Dude, when I saw this story, it reminded me of a show I watched a couple years ago called Outer Range. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. You should definitely watch it. Thanos is in it.
Okay. So here's my second one too, right? So we're talking about how they dug that hole into the ground and they had to stop. The Russians did and said it got too hot. But people are saying they were hearing screams and voices down there, right?
They were.
And so,
but I mean, man, that could be anything.
Yeah. So my thing is that what if our interpretation of hell is not what we think it is, right? And so hear me out on this, man. Since we're doing hypothetical weird shit, right?
Sure. Why not?
So the Bible references people who live on the earth and in the earth, right? Several times, right? It's non-disputed. And it also says that everyone will bend the knee on the earth and in the earth. As a matter of fact, it says those who refuse to come out of the earth will get ripped out of the earth, right? It literally says that, right? In like Revelations, right? But also says that that's the prison where the fallen angels are supposedly in there, the watchers are in there, or whatever's in there. Satan is down there. The key to the bottomless pit is down there. So I'm thinking that as well. What if hell is actually a very physical place on our current realm, and that when you die, right, you reincarnate at a certain age, 30 or whatever the age would be, and you're in a physical form underneath the crust of the earth, right? And that they did hear that shit because they did crack through some things down there, and that's where you're actually down there being trapped, right? I don't know. That's just a weird thought that came into my head, man. This is very weird that came into my head, right?
It's a literal interpretation of it, yeah.
Yeah, like literally, like so, like you're down there, but you're not hungry. You can never die.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like the Book of Enoch says something about that, like something similar to that, right?
And so yeah, so here's
in the Jewish tradition, I think that there's a place. I think that's how Sheol is described. S-E-H.
Yeah, Sheol's described that way as well, right? Yeah, we're butchering that, whatever. But so don't ADL us, please. So, anyways, the thing about that would be is that like it also is described in Dante's Inferno that way. It's also described when in like there's a reference in the Bible. I forget what it is, man, where an angel is showing a man who's in hell, and there's a guy standing next to him, and he's like, "Hey, tell that guy to dip his finger and give me a taste of water," right? And he's like, "No, we can't come to you if we wanted to. We can't cross these things. It's impossible to cross these things. These things, right? These distances." I thought to myself, like, yeah, man. So what if you like die, and then you're in that type of thing, but you're like not in spirit form, but you're in some type of physical form, right? And by the way, also too, a lot of misinterpretations in the Bible. The Bible doesn't ever say anything about being tortured in hell, y'all. That's stupid. It says tormented. You're tormented in hell, right? It doesn't ever say anything about any type of physical. It does mention a lake of fire that you're cast into, but it doesn't say anything about being tortured. So the movie Hellraiser that's stupid. That's so dumb.
That it's the whole again. We pop back into the what's the difference between a demon and an alien?
Yeah.
But like, okay, so we also have to look at these are okay. So if you're looking at old texts, you have to put yourself in the mindset of someone who doesn't have any technology and then describe something you've can't
frame of reference
describe, right? Like, right? So they were saying under the earth. Well, heaven is above the earth. So if we're talking about multidimensional beings, right? Because they travel to and from somewhere through these portals.
Right.
So we're going to assume all of this doctrine, all the writing is describing something that's happening, that a primitive person is seeing the crazy shit, right? And they're trying to describe it in the best way they know possible. The sky opening like a scroll, right? That's totally obviously some kind of wormhole or portal or whatever you want to call it. From here to there. So if we're going to say interdimensional beings, we don't know what the higher dimension would look like or the lower dimension, right? So above or below the earth.
Yeah.
That would be kind of my interpretation. It could be a completely different place entirely reached through one of these portals.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where I go back to the Book of Enoch and how he described his trip through whatever Uriel was showing him, right?
It's crazy. It's wild, man. Like, imagine that.
Yeah, you got to kind of take all of it with a grain of salt because you're talking about a dude who uses sticks to herd sheep, right? And his version of a hot meal is something that was roasted over a fire in front of his tent.
Yeah, and I'll even take that back too. Is that people like, oh yeah, you're not getting credit? No, I'm telling you, man, it would be incredibly hard because you're in your mind you're conceptualizing that those angels were carrying a cell phone. These guys could literally just be like a light thing could happen. It could just be like a manifestation. It could be thought, like it could be like, no, there's definitely not, like you couldn't go back. If you went back 30 years and you stopped somebody in New York and you said, what does it mean by a scroll opening in heaven? They're not going to say a portal. Now you
take one of these. I mean, we see it every day, right?
Yeah.
Does Grandpa know how to use this thing?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
And so you go when you say most people like, yeah, that's probably sounding like some type of portal or something like that opening up as well, man. So.
Right, because then so it's weird. You have to hold two perspectives simultaneously, right? How would someone who knows nothing about a helicopter describe a helicopter?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no,
some kind of insect, right?
For sure. Well, all right then. I've had enough of this nonsense talk about holes in the ground and portals and how useless theoretical physicists are and all that stuff. I've had enough of it.
Enough. It's time to go to bed.
It's time to go to bed. So if you've stuck around this long, you are a type of loser. And if you're feeling like a loser, jump in our Discord and talk to that loser. All right. And then every once in a while, I'll come in there and I'll talk to you. We'll just lose out together, man. Just a bunch. Here we are. Absolutely. Just a bunch of nerds just sitting around, right? Also, too, for you people that have hit me up, man, I would recommend a hobby as well. I went and got my bow restrung today. And I'm
find something to do. Go outside. Do sunlight. The sunlight will make your mood a million times better.
We are definitely
get as much of it as you can.
Yeah.
Get out in the fresh air. Here's the thing. Go do something. Go do something you love. It doesn't have to be your job. Just do something you like.
Yeah, man. Go see a movie by yourself too, man. That's really cool.
See a movie by yourself. And if a bunch of you show up at the movie by yourself, you won't be by yourself.
Exactly, man. Exactly. But anyways,
just keep going. That's all that matters.
Give you the hearts. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. I give 0 squadooskies about that bell. And we will see you next week. Jay, walk us out of here.
Remember, the rising tide lifts all boats.
The rising tide lifts all boats. And we out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.